Good morning, everybody. Kamar Yellis here. Welcome to another edition of the Finance Rebel Show. You know, this is our Saturday edition, our Wealthy Conversations edition. And every Saturday, I love to have conversations as it relates to money, finance, do a rundown of the week, what happened in the week, what's popular throughout the week, and also kind of dig into a topic overall. A lot of my topics tend to be about Black wealth, Black economics. And today, our main topic will be, why do Black homes have lower prices? Again, why do Black homes have lower prices? And so, I do these live so I can stay in touch with the community and stay in touch with people who love to hear what I have to say. I'm up live on Instagram, I'm up live on Facebook, and I'm also up live on YouTube. And as a reminder, these will also be published on my podcast as well, my audio podcast, The Finance Rebel Show. You can find it on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, Google. You can find it all over the place if you can't, or if you don't have an opportunity to join in when we're live. So just saying hello to everybody. Hello, Miss Edith. Hello, Adrian. Hello to everybody on IG. Mo, I believe Adrian's on IG as well. Andy Moxon, Teacup One. How you doing? Hey, Tiffany, how you doing? Liked and shared. I appreciate that. Listen, Tiffany is a wonderful role model for all of y'all. She likes, she shares, she comments. Listen, to be all honest, right? I am fighting against the algorithms. Y'all probably have heard me say that a lot, but it's true. It seems like a lot of times I get new people that come in every week, but for some reason, it seems like the viewer count goes down. Now, I know the algorithm does a funky thing, especially if you're not paying your tributes, paying Caesar their due, which is the social media gods, YouTube, Facebook, giving them their money. They don't like it when you don't pay your tribute. So sometimes they throttle back or they reduce your overall exposure on these social media pages. So I think I saw a stat that roughly 2% of your audience or people that choose to follow you get exposure to this unless something happens with the algorithm, right? So do me a favor, trigger the algorithm. The way you trigger the algorithm is by liking this broadcast, by sharing this broadcast, by commenting on this broadcast. That's how the algorithm says, hey, people want to hear this. People are interested in this guy. Now, I'm not one that's, super duper for the fame and the popularity. That's not why I'm asking you to share this. And I'll be totally honest with you guys. I really am not a video person. I actually love radio the most. But at the end of the day, it's all about the message. And I feel that my approach to Black wealth is a little bit different than the average. And so I feel that there's some value there. And you all kind of reverberate that message when you come see me every week. So again, today's main topic is going to be, why do Black homes have lower prices? So somebody do me a favor, put that in the chat, share that out with your friends and family. And remember, the Finance Rebel Show is all about increasing the financial IQ of you and in particular the Black community, because I'm Black and most of you are Black as well. All right. So as we check in, let's do our weekly rundown. So stock market snapped the 3-week winning streak. So the S&P 500 closed at 3465 today. All right, so the S&P 500 is still up 7.26% today, right? So if you put in $100 in the beginning of the year, your investment, so let me back up. If you invested $100 in the S&P 500, your money would be about approximately $107.26. However, like I said, it snapped the 3-week winning streak. So the market is down about 0.53%, about 0.5%. It's down this week. Oil closed at 39.78. So oil is down 29.75%. All right. So roughly 30%. Oil's still down roughly 30%. And oil is in quite a pickle. It dropped even further because people are expecting oil demand to fall even further due to what? The thing that everybody wants to deny that lives in that house called the White House, COVID. COVID numbers are spiking. So nobody knows what's going to happen. And if COVID numbers are spiking, it's a strong potential that we'll have even further shutdown, stay in place order put in place. We were starting to see some of the orders lift. People want to go out. People want to get out. People are going stir crazy in the house. But if we keep having COVID outbreaks, COVID spikes, that is going to put enormous pressure on our healthcare system, as we saw before. I think it might get a little bit better because the country is now a little bit better stocked with PPE. And we also saw that, I always say this drug thing wrong, Redesivir or something there, actually is starting to work, and it got approval by the FDA. So we're going to see some things that potentially could lighten the load on COVID. But tell me, is anybody going to volunteer to take the vaccine? Drop that in the chat. Y'all let me know. Are you going to take the COVID vaccine if it comes out? If it supposedly works. So we've seen a lot of that. Gold is 1903. So $1,903. Gold is up 22.99% since year to date. So gold is, it kind of lowered this week, but it's still kind of in this steady pattern. It's when people are scared, people tend to run or flee to what they call safety assets. So gold is, again, 1903 is up 22.99%. Why? Because a lot of people are unsure about the economy. A lot of people are unsure about COVID. A lot of people feel that the Fed and the government are going to continue to pump money into the economy to keep the economy afloat. And so a lot of people are afraid of inflation. Me, I'm not really afraid of inflation. If you go back to the Great Recession, 07, 08, 09, a lot of people were saying that when TARP came out, when Bush started his initial programs and the bailout programs and Obama continued, many people thought that inflation was going to be off the hook. But as you look over the last 10 years or so, inflation has been pretty stagnant. It's not really done anything. So, I'm kind of the same mind. I don't really think inflation is going to go anywhere. I really feel that a lot of old school economic models are still in place, and in the mindset that when you have more money supply and the economy, that inflation goes up. But again, when you look at inflation judged by CPI, right, Consumer Price Index, we haven't really seen a big spike in inflation. Yes, have some things going up? Yes, they have. But I don't think it's super duper a problem in that way, where it's really going to create a whole change in the way that we live and the pricing that we see in most of our products. All right. Okay. Stock of the week. Snapchat. Now, for the record, I am not a fan of Snapchat. I don't think they really have a business model, but listen, Snapchat is up 164% this year. 164%. Snapchat closed on Friday at $43.17. Again, $43.17. They had a great earnings report. I want to say Snapchat, the last time I looked, had their market cap was close to Twitter's. Now, I don't really see it. I don't really see what the value is in that company, right? Not talking about the app per se, but the company, the business model behind the company. I still don't really feel that they have it together. But, I've been wrong before. And listen, when I say wrong, I'm talking about in stock price, not in the business. Because, I always say that we are investing in businesses when we buy shares of stock, right? I talk about long-term investing. I'm not particularly talking about trading, because I feel that most people are not really ready to trade, so to speak. So I talk about long-term investing. So I always say, just like Warren Buffett says, buy good companies. And so what we're seeing, in my opinion, with Snapchat, even Tesla had a great week. I believe Tesla they're in their fifth profitable quarter out of the last 10 years. Their fifth profitable quarter of the last 10 years. And I still feel Tesla is overbought. I feel it's out of this world, kind of, sort of. But, like I said, the stock price, I might be wrong on the stock price. I don't think I'm wrong about the business. Now, I will say this, Tesla may revamp and do some things. It seems like they're trying to get more production out of the factories, especially in China. But we will see going forward. But I just want to get that nod, right? So I want to be open and honest. I wouldn't buy Snap. I wouldn't buy Tesla because at this current moment, I don't really feel that they're great. I don't really feel that they're great companies. And so, like I said, I always focus on long-term investing, 10 years or more for these shows. And when I'm talking to the broader public, but again, the market likes it. The market likes it. And so one thing you can do, right? I learned this a long time ago when I was doing institutional money management. You can be right or you can make money. There is a difference. Again, you can be right or you can make money. So if you have a short-term time horizon, then yeah, you were right and you made money. But if you're like me with a longer term time horizon, I'm still right, but I'm not making money. And so you always have to be honest with yourself and not really kind of look at things from a rose colored glasses perspective, but look at it as it is. They just don't fit into my overall model. And I'm okay with that because their model doesn't fit into my strategy. At the end of the day, we always have to commit to our strategies and not worry about what everybody else is doing outside in the world that's out there playing. But that's just my thoughts, my comments, and my concerns over those companies. All right, so real quick before we get into the main topic this week, just wanted to say what's up to everybody. Naeem Singleton, how are you? Carol B, how are you? Mid-Atlantic, how are you? Philly Jot, how are you? Mr. Bailey 3, how are you? Will Mac 43, how are you? Junior's washing details. That's my son, y'all. So that's Kamari Jr. checking in. What's up, son? I'm sure you're not going to stay too long because you're scared I might talk about you. Do you have any sales going on this week, son? My son has ventured out and started his own car washing detailing company, everybody. So if you are in the Philadelphia area, check out Juniors_Wash and Detail. Give him a play. He does great work. Now, I can say this, right? I don't know how many times I've had to scream at him about doing chores and housework around the house, but he's gotten it. He's very attention to detail with his cars, with his washing, and he's actually doing research, y'all. So proud of you, son. Proud of you. So, all right, folks, do me a favor. Chime in. I saw a couple people let me know what they're going to do in terms of the vaccine. And let me just say my hellos to everyone while we're going through this thing. All right. Talisha is in the house. How you doing, Mashawn? As Adrian has shared, she's another great role model, rebel of the day. Carnauba wax special. So my son says he's doing a Carnauba wax special. Ends next week. All right. How much is the price? Let folks know. Don Johnson, how are you, sir? Don shared already. I shared it on Twitter, and he shared it that fast. Like, Don, I think you must have like AI technology enabled or something. Katisa Rao, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday to everybody. Melanated out, and how are you, sir? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Miss Edith liked, shared, and posted. Miss Edith is also today's rebel of the day. Everybody's sharing. Appreciate y'all. Mark Daniels, my Wichita connection, or one of my Wichita connections. How are you, sir? Mark, what's the name of your business? By the way, Mark, do you ship? I know Mark is like the Cheesecake King. So, Mark, do you ship? All right, so Tiffany says, no, I'm not taking nothing. So she is not taking the vaccine. Adrian says, nope, I refuse to be a crash test dummy. My man, NC Realtor from Marvin from North Carolina. How are you, sir? No vaccine. Food is medicine. Food is medicine. Shout out to Melanated Out. The better our food, the better our health. Miss Edith says no vaccines. Talisha says she's not a viable candidate. Okay. Talisha also says, hello, Kamari Jr. Don Johnson says, I'd rather die from the virus than die from the vaccine. Ooh. Okay. All right. Adrian Anderson says cheesecake. Yes. Mark in Wichita makes cheesecake. That's his business. Okay. Melody Allen says, always good. Thanks for asking. Yes, sir. Hey, man. How are we going to have conversations and not check in with each other? That's the human part of this whole thing. This whole thing called life. A lot of times I feel like most of our problems are in life, just in general, we forget our humanity. We forget to say hello and good morning. And I know sometimes that's a rarity because I'm from the East Coast, right? But I still say hello and good morning to folks. It's all right. We can be human for a hot second, then we can get to business. Don't forget to treat people how you want to be treated, folks. Again, I think in my opinion, if folks just really took a moment out and just thought about how they wanted to be treated and treated people that way, I think life would be better across the board. Life would be better among Black folks. Life will be better amongst those who try to oppress us, because they wouldn't try to oppress us because they wouldn't want to be oppressed. But, moving right along. All right, I see I got a few more comments, and then after I get through these comments, I will get into the meat of our main topic today, which is, why do Black homes have lower prices? Naz, the gig accountant, how are you, sir? Okay, Mark Daniels says, Wichita Cheesecake Company. We are working on the shipping and should have all the pieces in place in the next week. Listen, Mark, one, I would love to talk to you about your business being in Wichita, right? And two, I need some cheesecake. And three, my man Bernard that you know out there, his birthday was yesterday, so I need you to get him some cheesecake for me. Eileen Smith, oh man, I am treated and pleasured today. We have a legend in the building. Miss Eileen Smith, who's been a friend of mine for years in real life, IRL, is in the building. How are you doing? She definitely encouraged me on this journey of doing more lives and doing more social. Yes, Tiffany, the golden rule. All right, everybody. So this is Mark's company website, Wichita Cheesecake Company, WichitaCheesecakeCompany.com. So Naz says he's well. All right, so we got to get to the main topic. I ain't had no breakfast yet, y'all. And so y'all know I need to use my vittles. Miss Edith says we lack home training. No big mamas teaching the youngins. Need some manners. Say hello and ask how are you doing. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yes, cheesecake, I'm down. Yep. All right, my man. All right, so as I do every week, we have a discussion. More and more of these discussions have leaning towards Black wealth. Y'all all know I am fascinated and obsessed with Black wealth, because I feel that it's a major reason why the tables are so topsy-turvy today. And so as I prepare for this show, a lot of times I'm reading things throughout the week and I kind of save them and bookmark them, and I'll make some notes. And I saw another wonderful article by one of my favorite financial journalists, Michelle Singletary. Right. I told y'all last week that she's one of my favorites, right? Well, she's been doing this whole series called Sincerely Michelle. And today, or I believe it was today or yesterday, she released an article said, being Black lowers the value of my home, the legacy of redlining. And so y'all know I always talk about redlining. I always talk about how governmental policies have really caused major issues in the Black community. It's not just made up, y'all. It's not just something that Black folks are running around saying is a bad thing. It really happened. It was really governmental policies that really formed and crafted and molded Black communities. Now, if you can really understand what I'm saying, when it formed and crafted Black communities, I'm not trying to pass off our own personal responsibility, but I am saying that, listen, we have to understand all the factors that came into play. So redlining actually formed neighborhoods, current day. They forced Black folks to live in crowded sections of areas where they deemed that were undesirable, right? There was a time where Black families and white families lived a lot closer, especially poor white families. And then what happened was redlining came through. And what is redlining? It's big. It literally was a map, and they had red areas and they had blue areas. And in the red areas, they would not give money, governmental money and funding to developers if they knew that Black folks were going to live in that area, right? Oftentimes insurance companies said they would not provide insurance coverage in these quote unquote red line areas. And mortgage companies typically would not lend to Black folks who lived in that area because they were a perceived, again, I have to throw the air quotes in the air, perceived to be a risk, all of which is a lie. Oftentimes we got targeted with some of the worst products and some of the highest interest rates. Okay. There's a reason why a lot of our communities are still firebombed from the 60s riots, because we couldn't get insurance, because we couldn't get mortgages. It's not just because Black folks are so terrible and they don't know how to clean up and rebuild things. You know, if you tear down a whole block building, it's really hard for any individual to build that back up unless they are in the redevelopment business. And we are seeing more who are in that area now. But again, it becomes a lot harder. So Michelle Alexander wrote a wonderful piece. Her writing is stellar, y'all. At least I appreciate it because it's spot on and it gets right to the point, right? So again, the title of this is Being Black Lowers the Value of My Home, The Legacy of Redlining. Subtitle, if I picked up my home and moved it 20 miles west to a white neighborhood, it would be much more, all right? So she's got a wonderful illustration here where you have a 4-bedroom home, 3.5 bath, that in the Black community would be $300,000. Adversely, or not adversely, but in contrast, in a white neighborhood, it would be $700,000. The same home, again, will be $700,000. So that's a $400,000 difference. All right. So I'm just going to go through this. And I found some other interesting research that's been done by the Pew Foundation talking about this very same thing. All right. So I'm not going to kind of give you the fluff part of it, right? But she just talks about how she was walking her dog. She has a 2-story, 2-car garage colonial home in DC, in the DC area, the PG County, Prince George's County. If anybody knows about Black communities across the country, PG County is one of the most wealthiest counties for black people. It has like the highest per capita. So she lives in a well-to-do community. All right. So this is not a project, a housing project somewhere. She lives in a great community with other professionals that make good money. All right. So she talks about this community. Her deck wraps around the back of the house with a screened-in gazebo. Hey, I need that. There's an unspoken rivalry about neighbors over who can keep their grass so plush and green it looks like carpet. At night, the sound of frogs and owls can lull you to sleep. Okay, so she talks about that. She talks about the housing value that her and her husband, right? So two family home. She's not a single mom like everybody tries to depict Black folks. She is here to say she has a family. Okay. So she says, this is true for our Black communities across the country. So let me read this real quick. So pick up and move our Black neighborhood of doctors, teachers, police officers, and small business owners just 20 miles west to a white subdivision with a similar economic makeup, and our homes would easily be worth 40% more. This is true for our Black communities across the country where homes can be undervalued by as much as 65%. Again, undervalued as much as 65%. And then she goes on to talk about the key to net worth of most Americans is in a stock portfolio, but the equity accumulated in their homes. It's this equity that has created generational wealth for many white Americans. This wealth can fund college educations or finance small businesses, but home ownership, which is central to the American dream, has been and far too often remains an unequal and financially frustrating experience for Black families. All right, again, with the Black wealth topics here, with the Black wealth stats, the 2019 Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances shows that 45% of Black families own their homes, with the median home value of $150,000. That compares with a 73.7% home ownership rate for white families with a median home value of $230,000. Those gaps, home ownership compounded by home value, are a major reason the typical white family has almost 8 times the wealth of typical Black families. And these gaps are directly linked to redlining, which has robbed Black families of generational wealth. All right. So again, I'm not going to read the whole article, but just a couple of key points. I'm almost done, y'all. So federal housing policy started in the 1930s, resulted in practice of color coding maps to designate certain neighborhoods as best or worst for mortgage lending. Borrowers buying in white communities colored green for being safest for lending could get loans backed by the federal government. Black neighborhoods colored red were deemed too risky for mortgage lending. Without the federal guarantee, banks wouldn't lend to blacks. Blacks were often forced to purchase homes under predatory contracts that were so financially onerous, many ended up being evicted. Now, I know in my family, before I get to the next section, I know in my family there's often stories about my mother and my father moving around to different places because sometimes they would get evicted. Sometimes they fell prey to some of these predatory things. So, clearly it definitely has a direct line to us. And we're just talking a generation ago. We're not talking 5 generations ago, 3 generations ago. We're not talking about slavery. We are talking about now. This, if you are listening to the sound of my voice and you are watching this broadcast, 9 times out of 10, you were impacted by redlining in some way, shape, or form. All right. So in my own journey to understanding the disparity in home ownership rates and home values, I read The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America by Richard Rothstein. Now, y'all see that name, right? Richard Rothstein. So it's not written by a black guy, it's written by a Jewish guy. I know for some folks, they don't like when people with my complexion have something to say about these issues. And they kind of invalidate us at every turn. So, this is a white guy, Jewish guy. Now, I've talked about this book ad nauseum. I talk about it all the time. It's a great book. I think everybody should read it. Not that you don't know about redlining, but when you see some of the practices that went into redlining and how some of the tactics that they use to again move and kind of corral and herd black people into one place and what that would do to particular neighborhoods, it's appalling. It's appalling, but it's eye-opening, right? It shows that this issue of racial wealth inequality is multi-level. It's multi-level. So, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind, y'all, as we go through this. All right, so the maps have a huge impact and put the federal government on record as judging that African Americans, simply because of their race, were poor risk. All right. Although the government built public housing complexes to accommodate the need for more affordable housing, it deliberately segregated these communities, and its urban development plans for blacks lacked the same amenities, funding for schools, or access to jobs and other services as public housing built for whites. Now, keep this in mind. These policies started in the late 20s and the 30s. Brown versus the Board of Ed in Kansas didn't happen until 54. So we saw this expansion of wealth, the suburbs, potentially better housing. But blacks were blacks were excluded from all of this. And the things didn't really begin to change, and it changed slowly after Brown versus the Board of Ed, where they had to do not separate but equal, but they had to make everything equal in terms of education and everything else, because it would be against the law and it goes against the Constitution. All right, so the Federal Housing Administration, created in 1934, instituted a policy of not guaranteeing mortgage for blacks, no matter how creditworthy they were. And after World War II, the Veterans Administration denied black veterans the lower cost governmental guarantee programs, part of the GI Bill, and VA loans that white veterans used to help build wealth for their descendants. Although the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968 helped increase total black ownership, right? So this is another fun fact. 1934, they're saying the Federal Housing Administration, I believe there was a different agency, a different governmental agency that started before that had a different name, but they're tracking from 34 to 68. So we know from 34 to 68, again, 34 years is a big time. That's a generation or generation and a half of people. If you're judging a generation, that's 20 years. And so, again, a whole generation and a half of folks that were restricted to this massive wealth expansion in the United States kind of put us behind the 8 ball even further. Not even getting to slavery, right? Not even getting the black codes, not even getting to Jim Crow, just redlining. All right. And so it hadn't made things equal, but but too much racism is baked into disparity in housing. All right. So I, that's all I'm going to read. I want y'all to go read this, right? Because we have to support Black journalists. Black journalism is one of the most important factors to the Black community. That's why I'm a member of PABJ. And Black journalism is important because they're the ones that kind of keep us informed and the most objective standard, if that's even possible, right? But they at least get the news out. They at least let our community know what's going on so that we at least know where to fight. We at least know where to go. We at least know where to aim our anger, aim our projects, and aim our strategy. So listen, y'all, support Black journalists, support Black content creators, support Black businesses overall. Nobody's coming to help us, even though redlining is kind of outlawed, kind of. The remnants of that, the overflow of that is still here. It's still affecting us every day. So again, the name of the title of this article is, let me give y'all the full title. Full title. Being Black lowers the value of my home. Read that. It's in the Washington Post. Being Black lowers the value of my home, the legacy of redlining. We have to stay on top of these things, y'all, because they're important. Because if you don't know your history, it's bound to repeat itself. That is the saying. Sometimes they call it cliche, but cliches are real. And oftentimes history doesn't repeat itself, but it actually rhymes. But actually, sometimes it actually does repeat itself. And if we are not on top of it, we become victim of it. Now, I'm going to share with y'all my thoughts about Black home ownership and why some of the values are low. And yes, a lot of it is in racist policies, racist governmental policies, right? And we saw white flight, and we saw how all of that played down. Nobody in my audience is dumb. Everybody is smart here. Everybody can kind of connect the dots. But the one thing I feel that we don't talk about oftentimes, we don't talk about economics in here. We don't talk about supply and demand, right? So just as a country, Blacks only account for roughly 14%. Whites account for, I want to say 70 to 80. We have other in the middle. We know by 2035 or 2040, somewhere around there, the browning of America will be totally in effect. It's basically in effect now, but it will really be in effect by 2035. However, when we're looking at home prices and who's buying and who has the money, whites still predominantly have the money. And so you don't see a whole treasure trove of whites fleeing or flocking to Black communities. You only have Black folks living in Black communities. So right there, as an aggregate, you don't have a large amount of people pushing up home prices. And then oftentimes, right, let's be honest here, let's have a real conversation here. Black folks are moving out of those neighborhoods for various reasons, right? It's very nuanced. It's very complex, right? But Black folks are moving out of those neighborhoods, right? So every time you're moving out of those neighborhoods, you're seeing prices potentially fall because the demand isn't there, or at least the prices have an opportunity to fluctuate even higher. So you have to contend with that. So you have, at the start of after the board, after 54, right? I brought that up already with Brown versus Board, when you saw not the integration, right? Because we never had integration. We had desegregation. There is a difference. When we had desegregation of our communities, you saw many Black families moving out into white communities or to mixed communities. I'm actually guilty of that myself. And we moved out for many, many reasons. A lot of it is education. A lot of it is violence. And we're still seeing a lot of violence right now. And sadly, when you corral a whole bunch of people that may not have the same views or the same outlook on life, you tend to have crisis or skirmishes, so to speak, right? You have different things, and then not even to factor in the other governmental programs that interfered in Black life, namely drugs, right? Namely the crime bill. And that's no shot at Biden for this. That's a whole other nuanced conversation. But just looking at the numbers a lot of folks don't want to live in Black communities. So that's part of the reason for this. But we never talk about that reason though. And it's okay, right, to understand that all of this really kind of started with racial intentions to keep Black communities down, to keep Black people down. But I think we got to start looking at the dynamics of supply and demand. We got to start looking at economics. And when we look at housing, right, a big reason why Black wealth is so skewed is because we place a large amount of our value, of our money, of our assets, of our cash in our residential property. All right. So when you knowingly see that the trend is against Black home ownership in terms of cash value, do we still continue to get mad at this? And by the way, I love Michelle Singletary's article, right? So this isn't a diss or a swipe at her. I'm just analyzing it now, right? I'm starting to process it. I think a lot of times where we go wrong as a community is that we don't want to be objective about a thing, and we only want to blame the man. And listen, y'all know, if y'all been watching me for a while, I have no problem pointing the finger at where it needs to be pointed. But at the same time, I do think it's also important that we're realistic about how we're going to go about making change. And so if we're serious about wealth and our wealth expectations, we have to know that that trend probably is not going to change anytime soon. Now, in Michelle Singletary's article, she did suggest the government doing more for first-time home buyers and just overall real estate programs. But what is our expectation? If our expectation is that we're going to continue to make money or be wealthy because that's how all Americans typically do it, I think we have to change our mindset around that. Again, not against home ownership. I'm just against the overall thought of that's how we become wealthy. That's how we continue to empower ourselves in a monetary place, in a monetary set. Your home should be the place where you want to put down roots. You like your community. You like what's going on there. You feel safe. You feel, for me as a man, I can feel safe with my lady, my wife walking home at night. I feel safe with my children being out to play. And listen, we know it can go down anywhere, right? But we also can recognize that there are places that have a lower probability of this happening. But we want to be in places like that. We don't want to go somewhere where it's a gun zone all the time. We don't want to go to places like that, especially after you get some education and you work hard and you see that there's other things to life. So we have to reconcile with that and say, maybe putting all my money into my residential property, right? The place where I live, the place where I raise my children, the place where I lay my head isn't the best way to do it. Maybe we buy smaller homes. Maybe we do multi-generational living. If anybody's read my piece on solving the Black wealth gap or destroying the Black wealth gap, you see I talk about in there. But we have to be creative at solving these solutions. So as I was saying, when I prep for these shows, I'm taking in a Google gob amount of information on a daily basis. And some of the stuff, I'll be honest, I read it on Monday and I forget about Friday. So I'm doing a better job of starting to, take notes and put it down so I could talk to you all on Saturdays about these things. But, this thing, y'all know I talk about Black wealth all the time. I'm thinking to myself, we have to do something different. Again, I'm not thinking about right or wrong here. I'm not thinking about fair. I'm thinking about how do we raise the level of Black wealth. And so again, maybe we get smaller homes and we take and put more money into the stock market. Maybe we get smaller homes and we take and we start more businesses. Maybe we get smaller homes and we take and we build or we invest in other folks' businesses. And listen, a business can actually be in real estate too. I just want to be clear about that, right? You can build wealth through rental properties, through flipping, through developing. You can do all of that. I'm not taking it off the table. But so many of us, we go to school, we get a good job, and we buy a house, we buy a car, and we try to buy the biggest piece of property that we can get to live in. Not thinking about what the prospect on the other side of that coin is going to look like 15, 20, 30 years down the road. If you're putting all your money into this home, this big home, it might look different. And I understand that, most people don't live in their homes for 30 years. I got that, y'all. Listen, I'm a low key economist, right? I was 2 classes short from having my economics degree from Temple, but I got my degree in finance because at the time they didn't have dual degrees, and I didn't want to stay in school for another semester. Shame on me. I actually should have stayed, but I'm still into the economics of things. I'm still looking at all the trends. I'm reading a lot of the data. So I'm still on it because I feel that economics is probably one of the best things we could really get in tune with as we begin to fight against Black wealth or the inequality in Black wealth. But take those money and do other things with them. Can you house hack, right? In the very, very beginning, can you buy a duplex or a triplex instead of buying a bigger home? Or as your starter home, can you get a duplex or triplex? And then once you do that, can you then move to a bigger home, right? Can you have something that's paying for this bigger asset that you're taking on? Can you start something that's going to help fund your liability purchases going forward? Because I know everybody thinks your home where you live is an investment. I don't particularly look at it as an investment. It is an asset. I don't want to have that argument with y'all today, but the overall point is how do we best maximize our assets? Because the better we maximize our assets, the better we can have generational wealth. The more we can have generational wealth, right? And obviously, us spending all our money with companies outside of our community doesn't help. Doesn't help at all. But I think we got to really start thinking about our quality of living, how we go about living, how we go about investing, how we go about spending our money, and is it the best possible way? Now, this isn't any shade, right? But everybody's been sharing the Rick Ross brought 87 acres, I think it is, for $1 million. And there's this great old big picture of him with this white realtor or white broker, whatever he was, down in Georgia. And again, I'm a big Rick Ross fan. I salute the Rick Ross. But I analyze everything, y'all. I can't help it. That's the way God made me. So when I look at the picture, I'm like, why doesn't he have a black realtor with him? Why didn't he think to say, you know what, I'm going to find a black realtor to get on that transaction? And again, I don't know all the particulars, so I want to put that out there. Yes, I am making an assumption. I am. But I think sometimes we have to go and make assumptions and look at things to analyze them objectively, right? So again, I'm not trying to dog Rick Ross. I think Rick Ross is great. A lot of his messaging around Black wealth is spot on. But again, I'm looking at this picture and I'm asking myself, why isn't there a black guy in the mix? How much more money could we have kept in our community had he had a black guy, right? Had that realtor? Because usually with real estate transactions, you have a listing agent and you have a selling agent. Sometimes they're the same. If there are any real estate folks, agents or buyers in the community, correct me if I'm wrong at any point. But usually if the listing agent puts it up, posted it on the MLS, and the buying agent comes through, they have to split the commission. If they don't, if there's no buying agent, and if the listing agent handles the listing and the selling of that property, he gets the whole kit and caboodle. However, again, you bring your agent to the table. You could have got a black agent. There are plenty of black real estate agents out here. There's a plethora of them that could at least kept some money in the community. And so I say all that to say is that we got to think before we move. We got to analyze before we move. We have to strategize before we move, because our lack of thought, our lack of analysis, our lack of strategy is costing us dollars. And those loss of dollars is costing us wealth. I mean, again, how much closer would that put that black realtor to maybe opening his own brokerage and him hiring other black folks and him training other black realtors to get into the game? Again, not promoting becoming a real estate agent, but I'm just talking about the reality of it. Some people really love real estate. People love selling homes. I'm not mad at it. Shout out to Dave Foster, who oftentimes is in the community. He's like one of the biggest agents in Philly. Shout out to Tracy Powell, who's my partner in the Black Wealth Project that we do every Sunday at 7 p.m. So y'all check it out. But, I think we have to really start thinking deeper about these things. And we have to be so empowered in ourselves that you say, you know what, in spite of redlining, we're going to make it all right. Or at least we're going to make it better. Might not happen in this generation, but hopefully we instill that same work ethic, that same level of self-pride, that same level of love, of Black love, and our children and the next generations, that they come along and say, listen, I need a Black realtor on this, or I'm going to go find a Black realtor on this so they can get some of the commission. I mean, again, that is a very superficial look at it. Again, I want to be honest. I really, it's important for me to state that, right? I am making an assumption, right? It's very superficial. We don't know the ins and outs. I think when you do an analysis and you look at things, I think you have to state those up front, because I see some people that, will say certain things, that this person's evil, or this person's an asshole, or this person's a coon, when you don't have all the facts. So when you don't have all the facts, you have to list that you don't have all the facts. I think that's very important. But we're not going to rock too long today, y'all. Like I said, I need my vittles. But I want to know, what do y'all think about this subject? What do y'all think? I'm seeing some comments in the chat. I've seen some people have joined in. Consider this on IG. It's here. Welcome. NPA, LA is here. Nurse TT's here. HYMHTNC. I'm not sure how to say that. Timmy is here. Welcome to all y'all. Brooklyn to Chicago's here. Welcome. Kay Landers is here. Thank you, Kay Landers, for being here. Why do we, so Kay Landers says on IG, says, why do we have a problem sharing the wealth? Multi-generations in a household. Yeah. Well, I get it, because think about it. What's your papa say when you live there? You live under my rules, under my house. You got to abide by my rules. And a lot of us, because of the way we socialize, and we tell our kids they got to get out at 18. And I get it, right? You want some freedom. You might want to walk around butt naked or in your drawers. You want freedom. Parents want freedom. I get it. But there's a cost for everything. So even in that cost, or that chase of freedom, we're costing generations down the road. When you look at other ethnic groups, they have multi-generational living. There's a lot of families who don't move out until they get married. The Chinese, for a fact, a lot of them don't move out of their home until they get married. Some of them stay. So it's not just it's an economic reason, but it's also cultural as well. If y'all ever notice, I talk about culture a lot, because I think culture, really living by your culture and not being oppressed by somebody else's culture, and you embracing your own culture, is a solve to a lot of our problems. But nobody really want to have that convo. So, and I'm not an anthropologist or a social scientist either, to a large degree, even though economics is a social science. All right, so let's check in with some of the folks. Dietrich Boyd, how you doing, sir? Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My man, Robert Lewis, Lend to USA. How you doing, Robert? My man, Corey Kemp. Corey is also a partner in the Black Wealth Project. He's also one of the co-founders of By the Hood as well. So Corey says there's a primary reason the whites don't want you in their suburban neighborhoods. If more than one or two Black folks move, it devalues their property. Yes. They know the facts better than we do because they created them. Yes. I would agree. Tilly Davis says, good topic. Thank you, sir. I'm always trying to come up with good topics. I'm trying to expand our thinking around wealth and Black wealth. Do me a favor. Remember, everybody, you're watching the Black Wealth Project. This is our Saturday Wealthy Conversation. Every Saturday, we do a Wealthy Conversation at 11:30. But listen, I am changing the time. We're just going to do it at noon, because it's always something that comes up on a Saturday, y'all. It's always something that comes up on a Saturday. So we just going to be here on Saturdays at noon, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to find different things to talk about. All right, so let me get back, because the comments just jumped on me. All right, so Chili said, good topic. Redlining real in the 70s. Yeah, but redlining was real in the 30s. We don't think about it a lot of times, but it was real in the 30s. It was real in the 40s, real in the 50s, real in the 60s. The Housing Act came in 68, but it was still real in the 70s. I mean, think about, I don't know, y'all, I grew up in the crack era. And during the crack era and before, there's certain places Black folks couldn't go. At times, I've done some political work with some people in South Philly. If you caught the episode with me and By the Hood, we talked about South Philly kind of being its own city here in Philadelphia. But I know some of my guys down there, they said you couldn't travel beneath certain sections of South Philly because it was the Italian section and they would get ran out. So we had cases of redlining to a certain degree in the 80s, right? And also, let's think about this. If communities don't want other outsiders moving in, they don't move in. Why? Because they sell the properties to their own. At some point, we got to be on that same vibe. And let me say this too. I bet if you looked at any other community that's a quote unquote minority, I don't like the term minority, but we'll just use it for this conversation. You would probably see some of the same disparities in home prices in their communities as well, whether they're Native American, whether they're Latinos, whether they're Puerto Rican, Dominican, Mexican, you probably see some of those same disparities. However, they're not trying to oftentimes go and move in other communities, or if they do, they're cool with it and they're not necessarily worried about their housing price or their home price. So just keep that in mind. Again, that's a cultural thing. They're here to get the quote unquote better education, but they're still loyal to their culture. All right, so Chili Davis says 1950s wealth after World War II, GI Bill, but blacks did not get benefits. Yes. So, and not to challenge you, Chili, but I just want to put some factual clarity around this. World War II was over in 1944. So the GI started coming home. I want to say it was 1944 in November. So GI started coming home, and the baby boom started at the end of 1944, beginning of 1945, as the troops started to come cycle home. Also in 46 as well, because just because something ends, everybody doesn't get to come home all at the same time. So we're talking 44, 45, 46, 47. And so as we saw more folks coming, we saw the big baby boom. And so Chili is correct. Our folks intentionally did not get the GI Bill. Intentionally. And so the GI Bill or the VA loans, part of that was definitely intertwined in overall redlining. It was a conspiracy. I know I heckle conspiracy theories, folks, a lot, because everything ain't a conspiracy. Everything ain't racial, but there are things that clearly are. All right. All right. So many World War II people got higher ed, but not blacks. Correct. So they were able to be more upwardly mobile, get into different professions. Yes. Doctors, lawyers, accountants. Great points, Chili. Great points. Yes, many people do not identify the problems, the root. Yes, I want to do RCAs. I used to be a tech guy. RCA is a root cause analysis. How do we get to the root? Let's not put a bandage on a broken bone. So whites have inheritance of minimum 100,000 while blacks have little. Yep. Correct. Ricky Minson. I'm not sure what that is. I guess that's a tag maybe. All right. So Marvin Nurse Aiken, that's a NC realtor. Real in the 70s, real in 2020, yes, in a different way. Homes are appraised for less in black communities. Yes, they are. Homes are appraised less in black communities than whites while they are regulations in place to prevent that. Yes. But I've also seen instances of black home ownerships in mixed communities or white communities, or however you want to label it, with it being a problem with that as well. DL usually talks about that a lot. I think it was either $100,000 or $200,000, but it was a lot of money. When he said he got his home appraised, and he had all his black stuff on the wall, his cultural stuff on the wall, and then they gave him some number. He left. He took all the stuff down. It was bland. It was willy-nilly, and it appraised for a higher value. So that shows that there is at least, at the very minimum, some type of implicit bias. Okay, Chili Davis says blacks have bad credit, hence are not positioned to get new homes in some cases. Yeah, but you know what, Chili? I don't like to just leave that out there. Blacks have bad credit, right? So blacks have bad credit, yes, but why? We talked about getting to the root, right? Oftentimes, any of my credit challenges in the past was dealt to me because I couldn't get a job or I got fired from a job. And 9 times out of 10, it wasn't my fault. I'm just being honest, y'all. Y'all know I believe in accountability. It was for some other political reason why I might have lost my job, right? And then that creates a trickle down effect. So, again, and I was a single parent. So I was a single father with a son in private school. So I sacrificed on a lot of different fronts to things. So, but yeah, but what would the credit rating look like if black employment was similar to that of white employment, or at least on par of that? Black unemployment is typically three times greater than that of the national average. So I'm really curious about that. If we don't have black businesses, we cannot turn around our community. I agree. I agree. I agree. The home equity wealth takes 20 to 30 years. Yeah, but your average home ownership is only like 7 to 10. Now, you do get to roll that money over a lot of times in terms of equity going to a new mortgage as a down payment. But, oftentimes we are buying up. So we're never even really getting a chance to take advantage of the equity, in my opinion. Miss Edith says lower probability. Hey, man, tired of shout outs in broad daylight. Just yesterday, I walked my dog. I'm sorry to hear that, Miss Edith. Mark Daniels, as part of redlining, we've seen highways. Yes, Mark. Great point. We've seen highways cut through the middle of our communities. Large box stores closed down. Roads last on the list to be repaired, and numerous dilapidated houses forcing many to flee. Yes. And again, part of that with the redlining is we force a great amount of people into one area, right? So if you have 30 people living in a house that's only built for 5, what does that do to the overall housing stock? How does that change things? How does that put pressure on it? We are so behind in wealth. Need to start businesses first, but still create residential wealth. I don't know about that, Chili. Again, I know everybody here is all about getting a business and sticking it to the man and not working a job. But many of our higher income folks started at a job somewhere, folks. Robert Smith started at a job. Melody Hobson started at a job, right? Why? Because they're able to get skills. They're able to get skills and knowledge and into arenas that they might have not known about had they just started business. Now, I'm not saying you can't do some of the same things if you are employed for yourself. I don't know why that happened. My IG feed just died on me, y'all. So I'm not saying you can't get access to some of those same things. However, you have a greater chance and a shorter time frame to do it by leveraging the work and the money of an employer. But again, you have to know yourself. The biggest tool into a lot of this is actually knowing yourself, knowing what you want, knowing where you want to go. If you don't want to become a billionaire like Robert Smith, then maybe you shouldn't try to work a job on Wall Street. If you don't want to become a multi-billionaire or multi-millionaire like Melody Hobson, then maybe you shouldn't try to work at a black financial institution or a black black-owned mutual fund, or work at any financial institution, because Melody Hobson is also on the board of a lot of Fortune 500 companies. So again, I'm not the one to kind of preach and tell you not to do certain things, because I think that we all have a life journey, a life trajectory, and all of those experiences amount to something. And experience is worth everything. Bad experience, good experience, right? If you only have good experiences, a lot of times you'll never find out just how tough you are, how resilient you are. And so that also prepares you and gives you greater self-esteem to go to the next challenge. So I don't know about that, Chili. And also, Chili, I don't know. In my opinion, I don't think going to residential wealth should be first. I would, in terms of living, I would rather see more of us get into owning the homes in our community and renting them out, but at least they're owned in our community. That way, we have a say in how and what gentrification, the way the gentrification is going to go, or we have a greater say in the way of gentrification. So, right, biggest home is not the best move. Yeah, the key to wealth is actually capital allocation, and that's a term that gets thrown around a lot of times in investing places or real estate, stock market environments. Basically, where can you get the most bang for your buck without taking on the highest rate of risk? But again, it's some more that goes into that. So Ms. Edith said, yes, this makes sense. All right. Thank you, Ms. Edith. How to best maximize. Absolutely. We need young people in 20s and in their 20s mentorship to know wealth creation? Well, I would say even earlier than that, Chili. And Chili, I always appreciate your commentary, by the way. We need to be talking about this from when they're young, not when they're 20, not when they're already a formed person. They say your personality is kind of formed somewhere between the years of 5 and 7, right? And then your mind doesn't fully form until you're like 27. So just factor those two things in, right? So we need to be talking about money responsibly, being wealth creators, being wealth investors, being builders, and not just consumers. I mean, 70% of the U.S. economy is built off of consumer spending. Y'all have seen the studies about Black consumer spending. Y'all know that most of our money isn't spent in our communities, right? So if we're teaching that at a young age, and they're seeing, because again, children learn from our modeling. They learn from us what we do. We see all that, and then when they start making money, they still don't have formalized brains to really formalize a logical approach. 9 times out of 10, and I'm speaking generally. So it's deeper than the 20s, y'all. We got to start this from birth. We got to start this from birth. I mean, look at, again, I get accused a lot of times of being a Jew stan because I think the Jewish community has a great model for creating wealth. Much of it is built off of culture, their culture. And, we're not going deep into that. We're not going deep into that because I know what some of y'all going to say, but just what do we have in current day? What we have in current day. And so, again, if we support ourselves, right, because out of every $100 that Black people have, we only spend $2 with Black businesses. What would happen if 10% of that? So change that to the actual numbers. Black folks in the United States spend approximately 1.3 trillion with a T, big T, 1.3 trillion. Out of that 1.3 trillion, we only spend approximately 2% with Black-owned businesses. Again, that's a lot of money that goes out. Shout out to the Black Wealth. Shout out to the Black Wealth Project, but also shout out to the 10K project. I think Talisha is still on. I'm not sure, but we had a wonderful conversation the other day talking about the leakage, right? The leakage that takes place when we are talking about starting business, doing business, because a lot of the business or a lot of the money that we spend in business creation gets leaked out because we can't always source all the materials. Meaning, let's say you want to make tracksuits or you want to become an apparel company. Where are you going to get the cotton from? Where are you going to have the stuff manufactured? 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be a Black business. It's not going to be a Black farmer who's making that cotton. So our money still in some way, shape, or forms leaves the community and goes outside. So it's still not a 100% vertical integration. But we got to start thinking about those things. And again, the Black Wealth Project is a group of sisters and a brother, because the other day I got it wrong. I thought it was all sisters. There's a brother too. So, shout out to the brothers that are helping as well, that are creating a project to funnel money to Black-owned businesses. So the idea is, how do we get 10,000 people together and contribute $100? Not a whole lot of money. And so they're doing the due diligence now. They're building the platforms. They're building community. I'm a big fan of them. And they are putting the paperwork through the SEC right now so it can be done right. So look forward to that as it comes. Look up the 10K Project. I believe they're on Instagram. I believe they're on Facebook. And I also believe they're on YouTube as well. So look up the 10K Project. They're doing a great, mighty work. But again, we had that conversation the other day about leakage, right? So we get it 2 ways, right? Black folks aren't spending money with Black businesses. And when we do spend money with Black businesses, we still got to kick out to someone outside our community. So, if you don't want your boat to sail or to sink, you got to plug the holes. How are we going to begin to plug the holes? Our Black spending is a way to plug the holes, spend more with Black folks, right? But we got to start thinking about these things. We got to start having these conversations, y'all. By the way, don't keep me a secret. Share this out. Share this out with people who want to understand financial and develop their financial IQ with a cultural understanding as well. Because clearly I'm talking about Black stuff. I'm talking about money from a Black perspective. It's funny, for a long time I kind of ran from that because that's how I was programmed to do it, even though my upbringing kind of said something other. But now it's like, F it. We're going to talk about the truth. We're going to get to the real. So Ms. Edith says, yes, Caucasian realtor, we're the colored realtors. Yes, great assumption. Not thought process. Right. It's not thought process. And that, thank you, Ms. Edith, because I didn't use that language. I know, talking to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of y'all, a lot of people in my inbox, a lot of people text me, just the work that I've done in the community over the years, that we're not even thinking about buying black or involving black. So listen, my mentor said, listen, we should be buying our cars from black folks, even if they don't own it. Get a black salesperson, black realtor, black lawyer, black accountant, black insurance person, black appraisers, black title people, the people that, close the deals. We should have all those, right? When's the last time anybody's been to a black pizza shop? How much pizza does black people eat? How much do we spend on cheesesteaks? Now, I'm from Philly, right? How many black-owned cheesesteak spots are there? But we eat plenty of cheesesteaks. And it's not like it's something like really hard and technical to do. I'm talking about making a cheesesteak. Listen, I would say if we are 50% of the cheesesteak spend in Philadelphia, we should have 50% of the cheesesteak spots in Philadelphia. That's how I look at it. But, we got to start thinking about it like that, because, again, when they make this money and they get this money out of our pocket, they take it out of the community. It's not here to support our little league teams. It's not here to support our PTAs. It's not here to support our children who might need books or might need some tablets or some computers or what have you. It's not here. It's not here. So we're giving it away and we're doing it willingly. So we have to think about that, y'all. We got to think about that. All right. So moving along. Magic Johnson. So listen, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all a quick story. Favorite basketball player of all time, Magic Johnson. Favorite basketball position of all time. This is for me. Point guard. Magic Johnson can play point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. He can play all five positions and do it wonderfully and magically, right? I.e., his name, Magic. And when you used to watch him, or when I used to watch him in the 80s doing his thing and the 90s doing his thing, it was something to behold. Showtime, right? So Magic is not only my favorite basketball player, Magic probably is one of my favorite entrepreneurs as well, because he gets it. He understands that he has to do business for the black community, but also be able to go in and speak the language of those who have the money. So he's been able to do that with a lot of partnerships, and he got great mentorship too. All right. So Katisa Rao says we have to be intentional in doing business. Absolutely. Especially large transactions. Absolutely. But even the small ones, right? Because even the small ones, they add up. But yes, again, overall point, we have to be intentional. And listen, I wish I could spend 100% of my dollars with black folks. I don't, but I am at least conscious about it. I try to be conscious about it all the time. All right. Adrian Anderson says, what I see here in Chicago is that certain neighborhoods that are considered black are seeing a steady flow of white folks moving in. It's not surprising considering black flight and low property costs. The areas being gentrified are close to downtown, the lake, are close to where the Obama Library will be built. And many properties have been snapped up by large real estate companies with no interest or investment in our communities. Yes, that is true. That is true. I've been to Chicago twice. And sadly, I didn't get to see, Inglewood or the South Side or any of the black areas. I was predominantly downtown and by the shore. But yeah, everything that I read points to that. But that's everywhere. I think it was Corey Kemp, that's in the comments, that said that gentrification is a solution to white housing problems. They need cheaper housing prices. So they come in with money, they come in heavy. They redo some of the homes, drives up property values. And I think gentrification actually is a great example of the point I was making about supply and demand in our communities. We don't have enough people coming into our communities to support and elevate housing prices a lot of times. And so the more we do that, the more we make these homes beautiful, the more we can make our homes safer. And I'm not necessarily saying to have other people come in, But I'm just talking in numbers right now, y'all. This is theory conversation. To have those property values go up, it could work. But we have to start that work, right? Because if we just rely on white investors and white residents to come in and prop up the value in Black communities, guess what? Black folks are always going to be displaced. So we at least have to recognize that, realize that, deal with that, and then strategize to fix that. Or maybe we have to ask ourselves, does it make sense to be in major metropolis cities? Maybe we go to smaller second and third tier cities, prop them up. Maybe we go to rural areas, prop them up. And again, I'm talking mass migration stuff. I know that's very idealistic. Again, that's a theory conversation of what would happen if, let's say, Mark Daniels is on here, right? Wichita has a population, I want to say, of about 500,000. I'm not sure of the Black population. I believe it's less than 20%. What would happen if 100,000 Black folks moved to Wichita? It would be a game changer. It would be a game changer. So, same thing down south. Marvin's in here. He's also a realtor down south. It could be a game changer. Okay, so Marvin says solutions-driven conversations, not blame. Business, whether partnership or an entrepreneurial, is a must in shrinking the wealth gap in Black communities. Absolutely. Just the same, reinvestment in those communities will change the trajectory of value in those communities. We allow our communities to be changed through gentrification, losing it all together. And that in itself promotes the lack of worth if we change that paradigm. Perhaps we have to change to build that worth. Facts. Marvin, you're kind of a deep thinker, I see. But Edith says you're correct, but people will see you as judging versus right. And that's why I put that disclaimer out there. So Marvin spoke to that about having a constructive conversation, a solutions-based conversation. I ain't blaming nobody, right? I'm just talking about the issues. I'm not pointing no fingers at nobody. Again, I'm just talking about the issues. And I'm using these scenarios as examples because people like to be able to see it. If I just talk about abstract stuff, a lot of times people aren't going to be able to see it. They're not going to get it. Shout out to Miss Ohio. Shout out to the Norm 88. Shout out to C Woods 37. Shout out to Keys versus Solitary Keys. How y'all doing? Welcome over there on my IG. If anybody new has joined the conversation, make sure you chime in and say hello. I like greeting folks. You know how when you go into somebody's house, you're supposed to say hello? Come on, y'all say hello. All right, so Ms. Edith said you're correct, but people will see you as judging versus assessing the group economics of buying Black or using a Black realtor. Yep. Yeah, gentrification's happening everywhere. Philly, Atlanta, absolutely. The real estate good, but is this teachable? I can make more money in stocks. I think it really depends, right? If you are handy, like meaning you have a trade, you know how to frame wood, right? Door frames, wall frames, kitchens. If you know how to plumb, it might make sense for you to get into real estate because you have an already competitive advantage in your back pocket. It might make sense. It might make sense, folks. So, you gotta think about that. You got to think about that. So wait a minute. Where are we at? Oh, Courtney's in the house. What's up, Courtney? Shout out to Courtney Nicole, the Ivy investor. That's my homie. She's also a partner in the Blackwell Project. She was actually the first person I went to and shared the idea with for the Blackwell Project. So that's my homie. We fight like every day. She be beating on me, y'all. So Ms. Edith says we had to be taught. That's why I follow you. Thank you, Ms. Edith. Probably nobody in his camp questioned his power move or using a realtor Black. But you know what? I don't know that, right? Because Rick Ross has a great song called Buy Back the Block. He's talking about Black economics. Again, I'm a hip hop head, y'all. He's talking about Buy Back the Block. I think him and Gucci are on that track together. Right? And his wing stops and his checkers, even though they're terrible for Black health. By the way, Black health and Black wealth are inextricably linked. They are linked together. You can't separate one from the other. I don't know. So again, Miss Edith says, great subject. Thank you, man. Thank you. Can we not talk about Kanye? I am very disappointed in Kanye. I think Kanye disrespects Black fathers, right? And so you can't be serious about Black wealth and you're disrespecting Black fathers. So give y'all more context. You can't say Trump your daddy when your Black father is alive and has played a part in your life. And, maybe I feel some kind of way because I was a single Black father. I am a Black father. But, I just feel there's unnecessary assault on Black men. And he just kind of played into the hands of that. Even his whole stance with the Cheeto head Hitler is anti-Black, in my opinion. I'm not going to call him a name, but I will talk about some of the things I see as critical and problematic in his overall stance. I will say Kanye West is a musical genius. Maybe one day he could be a political genius, but he would need to read. He doesn't like to read. He doesn't think it's necessary. He's been quoted that or stated that in several interviews. All right, so Miss Edith says, dumb rules, slavery riles. I am the change agent in my family. Right. Everyone lives multi-generational, just not us. Slavery still impacting us. Yes, slavery is still impacting us. That's why history is so important, y'all. We really got to tap into our history. Got to tap into our history. I mean, people don't even know what redlining is. And then in the textbooks that are in our children's schools have blatant lies in them. And it's 2020. So if the parents don't study the history because they didn't like education, because they didn't like school, we're just going to keep repeating the cycle over and over again. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Appreciate you. Mr. Lewis, I owe you a video. I haven't forgotten about it. Mr. Boyd says, I appreciate the knowledge and community. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you here. All right. So Chile is right. It was really hard for Black soldiers to obtain a GI Bill after World War II. My grandfather did his, and it's set us up for success. Yes. Shout out to your grandfather. I wonder what secret he figured out that so many other Black GIs couldn't get, or what was the circumstance. But that's great history, right? That's great history that Courtney knows that much about her family. That's value, y'all. Again, Black wealth isn't just the money; it's also the history. When I talk to certain families who are concerned about passing along their wealth to create generational wealth, many of them aren't so much concerned about the actual money; they're actually concerned about the lessons, and so they're starting to create like video archives for them to translate and prepare and communicate those lessons to the next generations. All right. So there's still multi-generational housing in my family. Oh, that's dope. And I've noticed that we, as a lot more families that migrated from the South to North, as we progress, we moved out and established our own households. Yes, absolutely. Because think about it. You couldn't really live anywhere else. And you know what, y'all, the migrations, the Black migrations there was 2 or 3 of them. I can't remember the years off the top of my head. They're actually a fascinating study. When you look at the migration patterns from South Carolina to a Philadelphia to a New York, when you look at the migration patterns from like a Mississippi to a St. Louis or a Chicago or Detroit, and then you look and see how each one of these regions kind of developed around the culture that came from the South that our ancestors fostered. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yep, Chile, Broad Street, Italian on one side, Blacks on the other. All the communities are built by streets in big cities. Yes. Yeah, that was like that. But even going north-south, because Broad Street runs north-south, even below certain streets like below Passyunk Avenue that intersects Broad, Blacks couldn't go beneath that back in the day. So Chili Davis says, in Jacksonville, Florida, home appraised different $100,000 in 2020. Wow. So I'm assuming that was $100,000 lower in 2020. Yes, we definitely need more Black appraisers. Yes, we do. Bad credit is a result of predatory lending and lower incomes. Yes, I just kind of touched on that too, Courtney. Blacks have discriminatory credit. Yes. Yep. Talisha Sign says, while working on a Native American resort and casino in California, Verona, never heard of that place before. I saw that they earned salaries, got profits from the casino, and were able to buy land, build homes on designated land. Yeah, they were. I I have me personally. I have mixed feelings about the Native Americans. Anybody, just look up blood continuum. Look up blood continuum. And yes, when you look at like the Gullah Wars or what's called the Seminole Wars, many Native Americans played a major role in blacks getting free. But look up blood continuum, and I think y'all get my gist on that. Exactly, our black men have employment issues, and women too. But yeah, black women tend to be more educated, so they're able to get over that hurdle. And black women historically have been able to work inside of white America a lot better than blacks. And it's funny, right, that you even bring that up because there's this notion that black men are always supposed to provide, right? That's the rule of the land. And I said in the United States, black men have always had problems getting employment. I'm speaking generally, right? I'm not saying black men don't want to work. I'm not saying black men are lazy. I'm saying because of the social economic issues, it's always been an issue. But my mother did day work. If y'all don't know what day work is a black woman going to clean white folks' houses. That happened in previous generations before that. That's one of the things we've always been able to do, or black women has always been able to do. But nobody ever talks about why black men a lot of times resorted to crime or what's illegal activity, because some of the illegal activity, in my opinion, weren't crimes. Running numbers in its original form wasn't really a crime, so to speak, right? This is complex, nuanced, right? I'm not trying to say criminality or doing things illegal is wrong, but when you have no other resort, I get it. I'll just say that. My job supports me financially and for skill management, yes, and skill development as well, Courtney. I talk about Courtney a lot. I talk about all my Black Wealth Project brothers and sisters a lot. Because I was saying some of the work that Courtney does, she wouldn't be able to master and get into had she not worked for this particular place, right? And she's in spaces where other Black people aren't. And oftentimes she's able to represent us better or represent for us better than had she not been there, right? So again, this notion of not having a job is killing us, y'all. It's killing us. And again, I'm not trying to promote staying in toxic environments either. So again, it's nuanced. We don't need no more black and white statements. We need well thought out analysis and strategy. Again, no more black and white statements. We need well thought out and analyzed statements. That's what I feel is missing. Matter of fact, while I'm on this bit of a rant, today I saw somebody who I respect post that Robert Smith, the richest black man in the world, was being targeted by the IRS because he gave money to Morehouse. So they're saying he's being targeted. And I said, no, he was part of a bigger investigation. They were going after somebody bigger. And then Courtney reminded me again, talking to Courtney, like, no, the investigation started 4 to 5 years ago in 2016, right? Robert Smith gave the money to Morehouse in 2019. So we're talking a 3 to 5 year difference. So it's not necessarily racial. Everything ain't racial. Now, yes, are the systems racial? Yes, but we had to be able to delineate and separate the two. We need analysis and strategy. We don't need black and white. Just because this guy is it's black and white, this guy is a black billionaire that the IRS is targeting him. No, he did tax evasion. He got caught. He paid a fine, and he was able to avoid jail because he paid that fine. But listen, if you do the crime, you got to pay the time, or at least pay the penalty. All right, so Shirley says agreed. The corporate plantation helps teach people to get skills, to leverage skills later on in business. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of black consultants that were able to go back to their previous employer because they did such good work. That's why it's important to do good work and get contracting. All right, so Adrian Anderson says if black employment and salary equaled our white counterparts, many of us would be in a more desirable situation. Absolutely. No doubt about it. I would bet all the money in your pocket, Adrian, about that. Thank you. Melanie is on the board of Starbucks. Yes. So I believe, right, when we all saw the incident in Philadelphia with Starbucks, I believe Melody was part of the crew that made them do right by the black community. But again, everybody was on board to boycott Starbucks. Marvin says, very true, Kamari. We do gain a number of skills working in corporate. However, that does not always contribute to the wealth building mindset. It doesn't always. But guess what? Most entrepreneurs, most business owners make less money than employees. So that doesn't contribute to the wealth mindset or wealth community either, for the most part. I get what you're saying, though, Marvin. I just wanted to put that out there. All right, so true resilience through tough experiences help shape us. Yeah, a lot of times we run from tough shit. No, run to it. Miss Edith says, younger than 20 years old, me and my 7-year-old grandson reading How Money Works Together. Oh, all right. I know you got that for me. How Money Works is a wonderful book. I suggest it for everybody. Shirley Davis says, capital allocation. I find people do not have enough capital to start investing. Nah, you only need $1. I mean, to really get into the intricacies of capital allocation, obviously you need more, but I mean, there's plenty of ways. We just have to study. I mean, all of these quote unquote commercials and seminars about people buying real estate for free, it's real. It just takes a lot of work. And there's a high failure rate too, right? And that's not to dissuade anybody. I say all that to say that as we study more, we can do more. As we study more, we can become more creative. So it's not always about the money, right? It's about building the money and then figuring out ways how to duplicate the money. I mean, how many of y'all have seen couples, right, especially in the FIRE movement, that said, you know what, I want to pay off my debt. I want to pay off my student loans. And they have paid off hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt because they just got focused. They got focused and they said, I don't want this debt anymore. So they start a side hustle. When they start paying down their debt, they start other things. Maybe they give a raise to the job and they say, you know what, instead of buying some BS for the holidays, just the holiday season's coming up, prepare to be bombarded by about 10,000, 20,000 ads a day. But they said, instead of succumbing to these ads, to following the Joneses, they say, I'm a rebel, right? I'm going to create my own economy and not just fall suit to what everybody else is doing. So not buying toys for Christmas or birthdays. You can buy some toys, but I say buy stocks. Buy stocks. Give the gift that keeps on giving. Stocks keep on giving. Yes, 10K project. Shout out to the 10K project. Talisha says, yes, sir. I'm here for thanks for the shout out. So she says, I'm here. Thanks for the shout out and Thursday's conversation. Yep. Shirley Davis says, end business in time. Sourced by Black. Yes, that's vertical integration, folks. That's what I was trying to say. I like the way you said it. Yes, the Black Wealth Project. Courtney, are you not familiar with the Black Wealth Project? Don't start with me. Ms. Edith says, agree. Buying Black since pandemic. I'm buying Black. Black Mama Vodka. Shout out to Black Mama Vodka. Shout out to Vanessa Braxton. I actually need to buy some Black Mama Vodka myself. I actually need some Black Mama Agave, and her Black Mama teas is dope as well. If y'all have not seen that interview, go watch the interview. There's a lot of gems in there. It wasn't structured. We had a very long conversation, but if you want to see into the mind of a person who's doing it, of a builder, of an investor, of a businesswoman, watch the interview I did with Vanessa Braxton. It's on my YouTube channel. Talisha Shine, according to yes, the 10K project. By the way, I recommended Courtney as a Black attorney. Yes, Courtney is a Black attorney. She's a Black estate and real estate attorney to the 10K project as one of their attorneys, recommended attorneys for the project they have coming up called the Black, what is it, Talisha? The Black Wealth Financial Campaign, or the Black Wealth, the Family Wealth Campaign, I believe it is. But Talisha, please correct me because I know I am wrong. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, y'all. Marvin Stockdale. What's that? Did you boy say, yes, I'm a member? Yes, you are. I remember we were talking the other day. Diedrich, I'm a member, and it's been great being a part of that community. Yes, I love what they're doing. And so listen, folks, I'm the finance rebel. I'm also the founder of the Black Wealth Project. But guess what? I still shout out other Black folks, other Black projects that are good for our community. Why? Because I don't really believe in competition. I hate shenanigans, right? Y'all often might see me talk about shenanigans, And yes, that could be subjective, but I also know the facts, right? So all these folks running around talking about LLCs are great and provide greater taxability than overall individual taxation. They're lying, they're uninformed, and they're probably just trying to sell you something. But I could also say that the 10K project has great potential. Listen, I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I want to be there to help them work, right? And that's the way I look at it. Just being, again, totally transparent, totally honest. In theory, it should work. In theory, we should be able to do a lot of group projects with technology at the backbone of it all. Share this story. If anybody has never heard of Arab Spring, look up Arab Spring. So I started radio, kind of fell in love with radio. And then I saw Arab Spring and it kind of coincided. So Arab Spring was when a lot of the Arabs in Egypt and Tunisia said they was tired of the treatment by the government and they began to rebel. And as they rebelled, what did they use? They used Twitter and a little bit of Facebook to communicate and coordinate. And I'm not saying we should communicate and coordinate everything openly, but damn, social media could be a great and mighty tool. And, obviously I'll say we shouldn't do everything on social because we know the alphabet boys are watching. So when y'all out here, make sure y'all fresh as hell because the feds are watching. All right. But we could begin conversations like these. The deeper conversations need to be had one-on-one, face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly, just because we know about COINTELPRO. I mean, the other things, but listen, we can say, listen, pull up. We're doing a cash mob here. We're going to get 20 people. We're going to go to a business and we're going to spend $20 a piece. So that's an extra $400 inserted into this black business. And that black business 9 times out of 10 employs black people. So, we got to start being smart about how we leverage social. I'm here for the jokes too. If anybody sees my personal feed, I put a lot of jokes out there. But I also put a lot of political things and a lot of things about money as it relates to the black community as well. Chili, I think Chili's tagging people. Thank you, Chili, if you are. Yes, love Magic Johnson since 1979. Yes, 1979, he was at Michigan Laker squad. Smart and Tidy, how are you? Sister Saving. Oh, I love that title, Sister Saving. Good and Bloody Rennie, how are you? Thank you all for joining. Thank you. Magic Johnson, a Starbucks and TGIF he owned in LA, stays full, visited many times. Yeah, yep. Magic has got his pulse on the people. He understands it. All right, it just jumped on me again. All right, here we go. Okay, so Miss Edith says, me too, Adrian. They have returned to the former burned out Bronx, to the BX, uptown, baby. That was Malik's quote. Okay, the quote about gentrification being the solution to white housing problems. Okay, sorry, Corey, or sorry, Malik. Yes, there's a supply demand issue. Yeah. So yeah, when we see it, like again, I love Michelle Singletary. I love this Sincerely Michelle series that she's doing with the Washington Post. I'm going to actually subscribe to the Washington Post just to read her stuff unencumbered. And, like I said to y'all, black journalism matters. It absolutely matters. I know a lot of us don't think about it in the mass mainstream, but, people like Roland Martin, who is a member and actually an officer of NABJ, which is the National Association of Black Journalists. I think he does a pretty good job. Some people don't like him because he gives too much opinion and not enough facts. But, the day of totally fact-based journalism is dying. But again, he is a product of the PABJ, which is the founding chapter of NABJ, coming along. And they do a great and mighty work. And we need to recognize that and support that. All right, so Chili says, in Texas, I believe there's some all new black neighborhoods built by black lady. I think that was Arkansas. But if anybody finds more information on that, I would love to see it. Some are going back to that, right? So I talked about PG County being, I want to say it's the highest per capita black neighborhood in the country. And you have some in Atlanta. Sadly, we really don't have that in Philadelphia or in the surrounding Philadelphia area. Wingstop shop booming. Yeah, but you know what? So I do love a good lemon pepper wing. I like the flats and the drums, y'all. Y'all know I love my food, my vittles. I ain't too impressed by them though. Let's be honest. No diss. No diss. Reading most important. Keep a secret or knowledge in a book. Yeah, reading's important, but comprehension is king. I see people read stuff, but they don't comprehend that well. And part of that is because we want to rush. Sometimes you got to read a thing 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times to really get it. Sometimes, right? Marvin says, "Hey, Courtney, Nicole, Kamari, I appreciate that. Just being part of the conversation." Yeah, we got to have these conversations, y'all. If you're not having the conversations, you're never going to change the mindset. Dietrich says, "I'm so disappointed in Kanye. I was a big fan and was proud. He's a fellow Shakonian. I always say that word, Shakonian, before his Trumpism. Yeah. Help support our black men. Yeah, absolutely." Chile says the Native Americans were taken advantage of for years now. Government decided recently gives back some. Yeah. Go back to Blood Continuum now. Look up Blood Continuum. So Ms. Edith says, my mom did day work as well. Yep. So Ms. Edith knows what I'm talking about. Numbers running still done in my hood, but not by people of color. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So Kimberly Latif says, black men have never been lazy. Facts. They have not. They have always been targeted and abused because of the color of their skin. Exactly. They resorted to what should be done to feed their family. This is also why many of them left the homes. I.e. Claudine, the movie, explained this in a way. Are you a plant, Kimberly? So, all right, another true confession. I've never seen the movie Claudine, y'all. And I get razzled for this all the time. Maybe I'll go watch it this weekend. Jobs are great, but must have a plan. Derek Grace 2 says, yeah, educate, infiltrate, vacate. Yeah, sometimes. What did I say the other day, Talisha? I said learn, leverage, and pimp. Yeah, learn, leverage, and pimp the system. So Derek Grace is actually a genius. He's a marketing genius. The stuff he puts out, and he talks about it freely. I kind of met him once when he came here to Philly to BullyCon. Shout out to Dave Anderson. He was there as a presenter. But I don't know if you always have to vacate, just to be honest, right? And I say that because there's still a lot of work to be done. When you look at the CEO of, I want to say, is it Carnival? I think it's Carnival, is black. How many black executives are in these rooms? Again, in order to infiltrate something, you want to have to spend some time there as a dormant cell. Anybody read the spook that sat by the door? You don't just you can't just vacate in this scenario, in the current day scenario, right? And I get it's theory versus application. By the way, everybody has to do what's good for them, right? If you look at the spook who sat by the door, and I hope everybody has read that, one of his biggest things, he started really having mental health issues. If you really get in that book, because he was being someone else. Part of the reason why I probably am probably unemployable at this point, even though y'all hear me talk about maybe I should get a job every now and again just for the check, or maybe for some of the opportunities there. But for the most part, I'm probably unemployable. Is because I don't like toxic environments. I don't really do well in toxic environments. And some of my experiences in corporate have been really bad. I tell you what, though, it was a corporate situation. It was a black-owned business, and that was probably my favorite job in the world when I was an institutional money manager. So that was also my dream job too. So black lawyers have kept some young black men out of prison or on the traffic for minor violations. Yeah, black lawyers have been critical to the success. Let's use success and to the advancement of black people in general, right? Everybody talks about Thurgood Marshall. Nobody ever talks about Charles Hamilton Houston. Charles Hamilton Houston was Thurgood Marshall's Harvard Law School professor. Charles Hamilton Houston was also the architect of the Brown versus the Board of Education, or excuse me, Brown versus the Board of Kansas civil rights Supreme Court case as well. He died in 1950. He died from cancer. And so the case went to the Supreme Court in 54. But all the other cases that led up to that, to getting to that point, that was Charles Hamilton Houston. Thurgood Marshall had a great mentor. right? History is important, y'all. History is important. Income tax evasion. And my people's Hernandez, people's Tiger Woods. Yeah, I know that movie. Income tax evasion. I got to work on that on that impression. But yeah, people's was great. By the way, shout out to Richard Wright, one of the best actors out there. Doesn't get his just due, in my opinion. But yes, study and research. See, y'all, I don't just read charts and economic studies all the time. Yep, focus. Yes. We do have too many toys. Play with those. Yeah, oftentimes. Let's see. Jamaicans and other races have figured out how to pay off spouse's debt, and so we both free. Shelly, I feel like I'm picking on you a little bit, but I gotta say this because this irritates the hell out of me. Jamaican is not a race; it's a nationality. You could also say it's an ethnic group. When we're talking about our Black Jamaicans, they're part of the overall Black diaspora, but they're not a race. They're a nationality. That's important, y'all. By the way, most of these nationalities were created by white supremacist thought and theory to keep many of us separated. But that ain't what y'all here for. So that we gonna talk about this money. Yes, the Black Mama Agave is fire. That interview with Vanessa was awesome. Okay, thank you, Ms. Edith. Appreciate you. Mr. Boyd says 10K member. I will check out the interview. Yeah, check them out. Listen, I think all my interviews are fire, but being honest, I'm also biased, right? I can admit that. Listen, every time I do an interview though, I get jewels, things that I can implement. It's a learning experience for me. I try to have a great learning experience every day. We need more folks on the boards of Fortune 500. Yes. So following up on that, Chili, right? Maybe we should start boycotting. And I hate the term boycott, but I'll use it for this combo. Maybe we should stop buying from companies that don't have Black representation on their boards. Chili David says flats or drums. I like both. And yes, lemon pepper is my favorite chicken spice, right? We're not going to make this a minstrel show though, y'all. Claudine was the greatest movie. I think Mahogany was probably the greatest Black love movie ever. If y'all don't agree with me, y'all can fight me. Probably the second is Love Jones. But I do like a lot of the Black love stories. I like Queen and Slim. I like the was it The Journalist? The one with Issa and old boy for ATL. I can't think of his name. Okay, Adrian says, don't feel bad. You haven't seen it either. All right. Here for the support. Yes, he is definitely a marketing genius. Some of the Black exploitation movies are not for everyone. This one explains some of the Black mindsets in the time. Yeah, you got to be able to. Photographer, thank you, Leo Lady. Kevin Geek, how are you, my brother? Yes, Leo Lady, you are correct. And Kimberly, you are correct as well. People don't understand it, but if you are a student of history, you can understand the mindset. So I've been joking around and saying I'm crafting my Ron O'Neal strategy. So if anybody knows who Ron O'Neal is, and y'all know the gist of that story in that movie, y'all should be able to get it. Listen, matter of fact, y'all know I like to do a contest. So y'all tell me what character was Ron O'Neal, what movie, what year, and who directed it, and I'll give you a free Finance Rebel hoodie. Put it in the chat, no Googling. So I need it in the next 30 seconds. Quick. Now, mind you, you got to tell me what the color of the hoodie you want. You got to send me your address, and I got the rest. Oh, wait a minute. I'd skip past too. I need you to give a little more advice on Black Continuum. Black Continuum? What do you mean by that, Kimberly? Help me out. And yeah, I will always share what my thoughts are on something. Yes, can you help me get my old man back? Yes, the photograph. Yeah, I thought the photograph was good. I like what's coming out of Black producers in terms of video right now. Yes, Ron O'Neal. What is the movie? What was his character? What year did it come out? and who directed it. All of these are very important. All right, Color Girls. I didn't see Color Girls either. Miss Edith says I won't answer. I feel like yeah, Miss Edith, because you already got a sweatshirt. The Mac, no, it's not the Mac. Even though I do love the Mac, Richard Pryor was in the Mac. There's a lot of good scenes in there. A lot of people have a problem with black exploitation films because they feel they show the downside of life, right? And so I had the basic same feeling about black exploitation movies as I have when people say, "Oh, we have all these black slavery movies." I say, "No, we don't." Every couple of years, the Jewish community creates a Schindler's List or some kind of Holocaust movie. They embrace their culture. They don't run from their culture. They're not ashamed of their culture. We, however, have been trained and programmed to be ashamed of our culture. Kevin Gee, I would say you're cheating, but you got part of it. I need the rest of it. Superfly, you should know this question. By the way, shout out to my brother, Kevin Gee. He's actually a film producer and writer as well. 1972. I think it was 73. Somebody Google that for me. Now you got to give me the director. You should know this. This is very important. And what was his name? So Kevin, you only got part of it. So who else is going to chime in? Who else is going to chime in? So Kevin chimed in on Instagram. He said Superfly 1972. He got the movie right. I don't know if he got the year right. Let me look it up. By the way, for the record, anybody that's seen Superfly, the soundtrack is amazing. Amazing. Curtis Mayfield is a genius. But I'll say this. I like the Superfly remake better than the original. Can never replace, some of the original scenes, but I still like how it was done better. All right, yep, embrace the culture. Yep. We got to embrace it by all ways. So not you, Leo Lady. You don't like blaxploitation films. You don't like slavery movies. By the way, they weren't slaves, y'all. They were enslaved. There's a difference. Some of y'all might think it's semantics. It's not. Oh, no, I want you to look that up. Look up the blood. So it's the blood continuum. Look up blood continuum. Right. So, and I'll kind of give you a clue. The blood continuum was, how much blood, how many drops of bloods do you have in you to be viewed as a black person or a quote unquote Native American? And there were plenty of black people living on Native American soil, but they agreed to this, and it was with a treaty with the government. And so basically they turned on black folks, some of them. Right. It's complicated, y'all. It's complicated. I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody, but it's complicated. Let's see. Sonny Bernard, I hope I'm saying your name right. How are you? Trey Snatch, what it do, King? What it do? All right, Kevin, Gordon Parks, that's only partially correct. What's the suffix on his name? Said, no, I'm not guessing. All right, and Epic Success, how are you? Thanks for joining. Jules Phillips, how are you? Welcome. Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Yes, Treaty of Peace and Friendship, Black Continuum. Yes, look that up, folks. And again, it's like when you look at the Gullah Wars or the Seminole Wars, like it's all history. But the more you do history, the more you can kind of piece together things, and you can see how today was manufactured. And I say manufactured intentionally. Yes, the great Gordon Parks Jr. You are correct, Ms. Edith. Gordon Parks Jr. All right. And Marvin says Superfly 1972. All right, he was right. Okay. X. All right, Mark. X did the new one, but he didn't do the original one. I was talking about the original one. I do like the new Superfly better than the original, though. Even though the original Superfly is classic. The original soundtrack was definitely better. All those soundtracks back in the day were amazing. Yes, they were. Car Wash, another amazing soundtrack. You can see that I love them too. So Ron O'Neill, Superfly. Yeah, Miss Edith, yes. So Ron O'Neill, Superfly, name was Priest. Kevin, I'll give it to you. You got it. You got the majority of it. Priest, he wanted to get out the life. He was a hustler and drug dealer in New York. Had a partner didn't want him to get out. Nobody really wanted him to get out. They were like the kingpins of their area, and they were getting a lot of their dope from the cops. But he wanted to get out, so he made a plan. He made this great plan to get out, and that was his get money big scheme, or big money scheme, to get out the life and do something different. So when I watch that movie, I translate that to, just becoming financially independent without all the illegal stuff, right? With some of the womanizing stuff, you could take that out. But again, he had a dream of being greater than what society had cast him to be. And he said, I am not going to just be what society wants to be. I am going to rebel. I am going to rebel. I'm going to be a rebel and rebel from what the man wants me to be, by not playing this game no more, by elevating above the game, by being greater than the game. All right. Empress Signs, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So again, I don't think there's anything wrong. I think when we look at Black history, African history, we have to look at it as a whole, right? Remember, we've only been here for a couple hundred years. Our history is longer and greater than just the Americas, folks. And yes, we were here long before everybody else as well. I admit that I'm not a fan of movies of enslaved ancestors. It could be because I've seen enough of them, and we have so many stories to tell that aren't steeped in pain. We do have to continue to tell our stories. Right. That's my point. I need more of a balance. I'm waiting for the Afrofuturism movies to become commonplace. Yes. Shout out to Octavia Butler. I love Octavia Butler and talking about Afrofuturism. Children of Bud and Blown. I don't know if that would be considered Afrofuturism, but that's another great Black book. Check that out. Support Black authors, support Black content creators, support Black journalism, support Black business overall. All right. So just look at all those, y'all. The more we can think Black, the more we can build Black. Yes. Oh, you like, okay. All right, Miss Edith, I see you. So, Miss Adrian, I'll say this, right? And I'm glad you said it, just going back to that. A lot of us we still have trauma from all the abuses we have dealt with, right? And why is Kamari talking about trauma and slavery and Jim Crow and redlining on this show? Well, like I said, it's a wealthy conversation. If we're going to have real conversations, if we're going to have honest conversations, we got to go deep with it, y'all. We can't just be superficial. And this trauma has plagued us for all our lives, all our grandma's lives, all our uncles' lives, all our aunties' lives. And it has formed and shaped our mentality and our mindset today. So in order to, chip out the pieces that are no longer needed, you got to do a deep dive on it. You got to think about it. You got to really get into it, So that's why I like to talk about it, because it all affects money. Money problems ain't about money for the most part. I feel that if we got into our culture more, most of our money problems would be gone. But that would create more Black love if we got into our culture more. That would create more Black pride. We wouldn't want to spend our money with other folks so much instead of our own. It would be heresy. It'd be heresy for us to spend $2 out of every $100 that we have with Black-owned businesses if we got into our culture. Like, really loved it. And not just those here in America, all of it, because it's all ours. Nobody can tell you who you are, and what you have claimed to be. You are the only person that can do that. But I'm glad you broke it out, that you said you were kind of personalizing it, Adrian, and you recognize the need for these stories, because think about how many of these children, I mean, again, the book, the language in the books and the textbooks are totally false. It's fallacies. They're feeding these fallacies. And we're building our so-called education off of fallacies. So our foundations are all faulty. So the more faulty our foundations are, the more faulty our plans and execution is going to be later on in life, if we even get to that point. So, research it all of it. From Mansa Musa to Martin Luther King, research it all. Research it all. Don't be ashamed of it. Remember, our enslavement here was a blip on the radar. We are the original people. We are descendants of God. Can you ever get out and survive? The drug game. It's very rare. Very rare. Those were the same plight with characters Stringer Bell and Avon getting out the game. Yeah. Now you say that. Yeah. So Eddie was kind of Eddie was Avon, and Priest was Stringer to a large extent. I can see that, and you can kind of even say that looking at Power. Oh yeah, Priest. They would have. Yeah, yeah. Because that was when Eddie said, "What are you going to do but hustle? All you know is the life." So yeah, that's real talk. Let's see what other comments we got. Like I said, I haven't eaten. I've been telling y'all that for like an hour. So y'all been keeping me from my food, y'all. Gotta get to my food. Great afternoon, sir. Yes, ma'am. Bob Black in 2020. Listen, Bob Black every year, not just 2020. 2020, 2021, 2022, and beyond. We're online and everywhere. Yes, we are. Tana Ravdu. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Sahadi Bernard. I'm fourth or more generation of Black-owned business. Yes, that's dope. So true. Dig deep. Yes. Got to dig deep, folks. Don't be afraid of it. All right. Because in order to be better, we have to acknowledge our sickness facts. Yes. Yep. I've seen a bunch of other people join as well. My IG feed is about to die. I see I've been on for about 2 hours. I think y'all done with me for the day. Y'all heard enough from me, right? We got to get on just acknowledging these last two. Yes, Power. Go eat. Yes. Thank you. Listen, folks, I appreciate you all being here. I'll be back on tomorrow on the Black Wealth Project at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. The Black Wealth Project. Come check it out. We have great conversations about what? Black wealth, my favorite thing. All right. And then y'all know I will be back next Wednesday for our Wealthy Wednesdays, our live money Q&A at 8 o'clock. So chime in. And then, of course, I'll be back next Saturday at 12. Remember, I'm changing the time from 11:30 to noon. 11:30 to noon. So again, thank you all for being here. Oh, one last thing. If you want to stay in touch with the conversations, do me a favor. And you want to ask questions, text me. 215-974-0058. Again, 215-974-0058. If you want to ask me a question, just put in there, ask Amari. If you just want to join the community, you can just text me. All right. But again, 215-974-0058. All right, y'all. Everybody have a great afternoon. Do something great. Do some research, right? Look at your money. Where's your money going? Think about that. Strategize that. And make sure your money is not a part of the $2 out of the 100. Can we make it $3, $4, or $5? All right, y'all. Y'all stay black. Y'all stay great. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.